right, we should be back. I'm sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened. But we are on a break, so got a few minutes for people to come back in here. Again, apologies for that technical issue. Hello to all those in chat. I cannot confirm or deny the rumors of who River Dirtbag is. I have no idea, to be completely honest with you guys. Are you playing too? I'm not playing right now. I'll be playing after this is over. That's for sure. Probably on ClubWPTGold.com. I don't know if I feel like driving down to the strip at this point in the day, but there's some real juicy cash games I can log on to in about 25 seconds. So might be doing a little bit of that. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I actually am going to take this 2 minutes though and take a little break. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the World Poker Tour Online Championship. This has been a really fun one so far. We've seen some excellent play from a number of the players at the table. And we have a wild situation right now where Jack and Janie are chip leading massively and putting a lot of pressure on these shorter stacks. In value. Folds around his button. He won't be seeing too many of those. It's going to be a bit rare that Jack or Janie don't open, given the stack setup. So River Dirtbag coming in for a raise against Jack. This represents a fairly strong range of hands, as I don't think he's going to be raising the small blind too often. Obviously, he can have some bluffs here, but a large chunk of his range should be some of the more nutted hands pre-flop. And a lot of big pairs, for sure. Small size Queen 6 deuce makes a lot of sense. 8 flush completer, though. Things start to get a little dicier. Small bet out of Dirtbag, though. You would think he wants to go a bit more polar here, but I don't know. Now he checks. This looks a lot like some sort of queen that was trying to control the size of the bet on the turn. Now is not sure what to do on the river. I wonder if Jack takes advantage of this. He's going to bet here. That size looks a bit value-y, but I don't know. That was a big pot. Not as much for Jack, but a big pot for River Dirtbag. And a tough one to lose. The cake asks, do we know any aliases real name? I don't know. I don't have access to the real names, but I have played with Jack Boggle a bunch in the past on other sites, and I assume it's the same player, which would be Brian Altman, one of the best players in poker. And he has really navigated well so far at this final table. He's chipped up from around 3.6, 3.7 million to start, all the way up to 8.5. Somewhat coasting along the way. Derek, I would assume a queen needs to call off on river. I would also assume that if you bet the turn, you have one of the stronger queens. And I would also think a queen would bet the river quite a bit if it decided to bet the turn. It's like the sort of queen that wants to continue betting. So maybe like king, queen with the king of diamonds, something like that. But yeah, I don't know. Something like 10-10 makes a lot of sense. Jack betting pot here. Here we go. I mean, this is brutal if you're Sniper Kitty. You're not just check calling all of the kings here, and Jack's aware of that, so he's going to put a tremendous amount of pressure on you. Somewhat difficult to find bluffs on a board like that. I think you're going to want to delve into the sort of like 8-9, 8-7 type of variety, but I'm not 100%. But man, Jack just continues to put pressure on all the time. Dirtbag finds the jam, gets it through. Janie has been sliding a bit from their peak around 8.5 or 9 million. Jack has just been chipping up all day long. It's insane. Feels like very little turbulence in the ascent of Jack Boggle's stack so far. Derek Plant says Jack out there running a school right now. It certainly feels that way. We don't know what he's had in a number of these hands, so maybe he's just had it a lot, but something tells me he is not. At least some percentage of the time, I mean. It's really been something special so far. Sniper Kitty with the min raise here. This is spicy. Spicy Kitty. I feel like I played cash on Club WPT Gold with Sniper Kitty. Or maybe it was tournaments. I'm not sure. I played a lot more cash than tournaments on there so far, so it's hard to tell, but I remember that screen name. Oh, we can click and see the stats. This is nice. I didn't know if they'd show up for you guys. Oh, that's fun. Dirtbag opens again. Dirtbag's rocking a 18% pre-flop raise. Very respectable. What's your screen name on here, Jesse? I play under Best Not Miss. It's a quote from The Wire. Maybe a poker quote, I don't know. Oh, they were reset. So we've seen 500 hands, so I assume that's from day 2 on to this final table. That makes a lot of sense. So some of that was short-handed, but a lot of it's going to be 8 or 7-handed, I would assume. Jackie Boggs coming in for the raise. I have a feeling I'm going to be saying that quite a bit from here on out. Thin Value gets the rejam through. Janie picks up a small pot, but Janie is sliding so far. Not that they're any sort of dangerous territory, but you hate seeing the other big stack pull away from you. It just means you have to be the more careful player from there on out. Ooh, Sniper Kitty with the 4-bet jam. Jack Boggle finds a call immediately. It's a flip. Straight draw on the turn. Brick. Sniper Kitty. That was a huge double up to 5.4 million. Nearly similar stacks at Jack Boggle. We have almost a 3-way tie now in terms of stacks. Life comes at you fast. Jackie Boggle. That was a flip for massive chip lead for Jack, by the way. Would have had well over 11 million, almost 12 million. And 2 incredibly short stacks, he would have been able to pound on Janie. Instead, finds himself tied with some other players. Has to be a lot more careful strategically. Whoa, River Dirtbag all in. Same hand. Nobody finds the flush there. That's kind of a spicy call by Janie, by the way. I mean, Dirtbag's a short stack, but not... I mean, we're talking about a 15 big blind short stack. Janie letting people know I'm not to be pushed around here. Oh man. All right, so Sniper Kitty raised, Dirtbag all in, Jack Boggle cold calls, and now Sniper Kitty has raised it. This represents so much strength but from Sniper Kitty. Ace Queen versus Ace 9. Ace 9 finds a 9. 10 on the river. River Dirtbag is out. What a way to win the pot for Sniper Kitty. Sniper Kitty, by the way. I believe Sniper Kitty had like 2.6 million a few hands ago. He is now the big stack with 8 million chips. Too unfortunate situation that Jack Boggle is solidly in third place. Jack Boggle was doing such strong work, and now it's back to the drawing board for them. Dirtbag out for 86,000 SC. The next player out will receive 108,000. And then 142 for the following player. So this pay jump represents 34-ish thousand SC. It's a pretty nice one. Oh. Guys, let me get confirmation on... Oh, I'm sorry. We have an all-in, first of all. Wow! Didn't value Ace-King versus Jack Boggle's Ace-Queen. Flops a straight. Jack Boggle was sick of losing chips. Didn't value out in fourth place. And just like that, we're down to 3 players. And this has become a very tight race as well. Stacks are super close. Players are somewhat incentivized to keep pots small, although there's tons of room to play with the blinds this high. Sniper Kitty isolates and then check on the flop. King turn, that feels like it's probably reasonably good for Sniper Kitty. Some of the checkbacks could be something like Ace 10 or King Jack. Guys, I'm looking into giving you big blinds. I was asked to do chips for production value, but let me see if I can switch it over. Waiting to hear back about that. Wow, Sniper Kitty putting the pressure on. It's very interesting to see what happens when a player who was previously one of the handcuff short stacks becomes chip lead, because sometimes they were just in such turtle down mode that they don't properly switch up how they're playing and start attacking their opponents. It seems like Sniper Kitty immediately found the aggression, which is really nice to see. Another monotone flop. Need to be quite careful, obviously, on those. Jack finding a small c-bet, getting it through. We have some deep stack three-handed play here. Shortest stack is 70 big blinds deep. Strap in. This could be quite a three-handed match. Sniper Kitty playing with what appears to be a somewhat heavy checkback strat. I mean, it's only been a few hands, but the fact they found a couple checkbacks makes me feel like it's not the most infrequent play. All right, guys, I'll give you a quick big blind view here. So Sniper Kitty with 110 big blinds. Jack Boggle sitting on 80, and Janie has 70 big blinds right now. That is pretty wild. Ooh, big blind 3-bet from Sniper Kitty. Things you love to see. Big blind 3-bet pots are so much fun because they're so player dependent. Some players just have an incredibly nutted range quite often, and some players find an adequate number of bluffs. Some players who learn which hands like to bluff from the big blind apply it too often, and they're bluffing quite a bit. So it's a really cool situation where you can certainly be a bit more exploitative with it. Three bet from Janie here. I was just about to say Jack Boggle does not seem to have been attacked very often when he opens, so I'd expect a wide opening range just based on that. And then as I'm about to say it, Janie finds a 3-bet, so take from that what you will. 10-6-3 rainbow flop. Feels like Janie has some bigger bets on this board. Comes with the little over quarter pot, it seems. Jack calls. 7 turn. That would probably favor Jack, one would imagine. Jack has a little bit more of the 8-9 suited, 8-7 suited. 6-7 suited type stuff. Also, once he's called flop, just has a number of tens. Checks turn. 9 river. 9 river feels like it hits the turn check range a good bit. Obviously, Jack could have something like Jack 10, but pocket 8s get there, pocket 9s get there. 8-7. Half pot from Jack. Quick fold from Cheney. Man, Jack's river play is relentless. I feel like we've seen very few rivers where Jack gets there and just checks. God, I hope at some point this is played back with cards face up. Would really love to see a number of these hands. Check raise from Jack. Jack is right back on it. Another check back from Sniper Kitty. And the 8 feels like a good card when you've checked back the flop. Sniper Kitty checks back the turn as well. Straight now on the board. Yeah, Janie bets big. Would imagine Janie has more jacks here once it's gone check twice. Not sure how often Sniper Kitty finds the check back on the turn with the jack or better. Certainly possible. Sniper Kitty, another big blind 3-bet versus Jack. Jack just lets it go this time. They are quite deep. Playing out of position in these 3-bet pots when you're this deep is very scary. Especially when there's a shorter stack lurking about. Man, Janie is really sliding here. Not a lot to work with, I would imagine, for Janie so far in this 3-handed match. C-bet here, though. Jack finds another check raise. I mean, I don't know if we've ever seen a flop check back from Janie so far. I could be wrong, but if that's true, obviously attacking with a lot of check raises is quite good. Janie finds a 3-bet, though. I'm not sure what to make of this. This could be strong. This also could be some kind of middling hand, like an overpair or ace-6, just trying to protect its equity when it is ahead. Something like pocket 8s would have made a lot of sense, I think. Janie keeps firing. Wow. If Jack continues on the turn, this is going to be a really pivotal pot for the tournament. Jack's all in. Janie calls. Pocket 7s, 4-5. Jack whiffs. Oh my goodness. Jack found the semi-bluff on the turn. I was thinking about how 4-5 just made a double gutter, has a pair. Janie was having none of that. Just bet calls the pocket 7s. I did feel like that 8 was a really nice card for Janie's 3-bet flop range because the immediate overpairs strike me as ones that require a lot of protection, so like 3-betting, and obviously the 8 either hits pocket 8s or makes Pocket sevens have a straight draw. Wow, that was a massive pot, and I hate using this word. I was going to say a big misstep for Jack, but I don't know if it's a misstep so much as just an unfortunate situation. I think semi bluffing there is pretty reasonable. Janie, another check raise. I believe that was in the flop check check node. So flop check check, turn check bet check raise. And now Janie's just snap checked this river on the 4 of diamonds. Not sure if this is like a king 10 sort of hand that's giving up or if it's something with showdown value. Yeah, it's Jack. Oh, it's Jack deuce. Counterfeit 2 pair. Wow. That's brutal. That would have put Janie in the chip lead pretty solidly. ISO by Sniper Kitty preflop continues on this flop. Sniper Kitty's done a number or a lot of checking back so far in position as the PFR, and then finds a half pot on the 853 monotone. Sniper Kitty has done a lot of things that I would not expect that often. It could just be based on the hands that they have, but it's been really interesting. Sniper Kitty c-bet, queen 3-3, queen 3, 2-tone. This feels like one of those boards where Jack Boggle is very reluctant to give up. Obviously, there's some hands that just have to fold, but anything with a heart in it, I don't know if Jack Boggle gives up. I'm not sure how many ace highs would just let it go. Even some queen highs could defend there. Or sorry, king highs. Sniper Kitty raising. Find that third pot size bet again. I'm not sure how often we want to bet bigger on the 7-5 deuce. I feel like sometimes we do. Turn check. I would think a king would continue, and I would think a number of bluffs want to continue on the king, so this feels a lot like some kind of middling pair, a 7, pocket pair. Check, check, river. 3-5? 7-9 for Jack. Okay, that makes sense. Jack decided once Sniper Kitty checks turn, my 7 is good quite a bit here. Boy, I have to say, Jack Boggle's red line is some really wild stuff, man. The number of hands he has won on the river without showdown. In big pots, too. First Sniper Kitty limp that I can remember, blind versus blind. I wonder if Jack just sees this as a lot of weakness, yeah, and just pounces on it. Feels like, Sniper Kitty had this thing going where they've been raising every time, blind versus blind, putting pressure on. Why wouldn't they continue that if they had a big hand? I don't know. I mean, obviously it could become a leveling game as well, where they know that their opponent knows that, so they throw a limp in with like something really strong. Ooh, jam from Janie. The 4x blind versus blind is also kind of interesting. I would not have expected players to go that large, although they are much deeper stacked than you normally see at a final table. Another 3-bet from Janie. Back-to-back 3-bets, if you count the jam last hand. Jack is giving this some serious thought. Wonder if Jack has some kind of suited ace that's thinking about piling in. Just calls. Certainly anything ace 4, ace 5 suited, ace 8, ace 9, like all worth considering. All those are so close in equity between call and jam, and if you think your opponent's getting a little out of line, jam makes a lot of sense. Jack finds the raise. Wow. I would imagine that's just like king, queen a lot for value. And then, pick your own bluff that you want to use. I would think sets just always slow play. If you have something like pocket aces, I think you just call. You're not really worried about too much getting there. I don't know. I was a little nervous about how it would go commentating with no cards up, and I'm really enjoying this. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It is a lot of fun, sort of guessing at what players are up to and what sort of hand classes they have. I'm also just wildly impressed by Jack's ability to put a number of chips in on every single river card. It's been crazy. Oh, excuse me, guys. Sniper Kitty with the 3-bet. Stacks have begun to dwindle a bit for Janie, giving Sniper Kitty a lot of opportunity to put pressure on their opponents. Look at these stack setup now. It's just sort of 2-1-1. Really great situation for Sniper Kitty. Obviously, you like stacks to be shorter when you have something like this. You can just do a lot of jamming, but if you pick your spots well, you can still really push your advantage quite well. Another 3-bet from Sniper Kitty. From Jackie Boggle, I'm starting to become a bit less convinced that you have strong hands every time. He calls. Queen 4 deuce feels like we're just really high frequency C betting. Comes with third pot, I want to say. Right around there. Jack calls. 4-turn check. Would imagine if Sniper Kitty had something like King Queen plus, just continue betting and go bet jam. This feels like it opens up some doors for Jack if he's floating. Now that's gone check check. What is Sniper Kitty up to? Pocket jacks get there on the river. Sniper Kitty just checks. Jack Boggle checks. Jack's got some middling pair. Yep, pocket tens. Sniper Kitty with 8-10 that just gave up. A little surprising. I would think that hand wants to continue on, maybe not always turn, but quite a bit on the river, as it's probably one of the worst hands you have. Just also a very interesting 3-bet preflop. I wonder, I'm not sure what to make of that. Might be good. We are getting much deeper. You kind of move away from those polar 3-bet bluff type of hands like King 6 offsuit, and you start playing a little bit of a stronger hand class. Something suited, something that plays better post. Little rare 3-way pot here. Checks around on the flop, checks around on the turn. 4-liner river, 3 hearts. Sniper Kitty leads out kind of small. Not that you want to be bluffing that large on a card like this. Like, if you start going too large, you just can't really incorporate bluffs into your range. Jack Boggle finds the raise. This is sick stuff. Jack is back up to 6.3. I believe he was as low as like 2.5. I don't think there were any big pots, or I should say any all-ins. Jack just, his chip stack just melts up. It's crazy. Check, check, flop. Janie bets small turn, bets small river, or I should say about half pot turn, half pot river. Sniper Kitty raises. This feels like backdoor flush quite a bit. It's the hand that makes the most sense to go check, check, flop, and then pick up equity on turn, raise river. I mean, also could just be an ace high with a spade that decide to bluff. Nice hand by Sniper Kitty. If you're Janie, you kind of hate seeing that spade on the river, as it does hit the sort of hands a Sniper Kitty takes that line with. I'm not saying you just check right away or anything, but you're definitely cognizant of it. Sniper Kitty, 240 probe. About half pot. Exactly half pot. Ace River. Bit problematic for Sniper Kitty. A bet would basically say, you know, I'm not worried about that ace arriving, which is quite a statement. That would represent a pretty strong range of hands. Straight, yeah, wow. And notice Jack called with the 8. He's aware that his opponent may not have improved on the ace that much. And an 8 is around the same value, although you could say your opponent has some... Like, basically, the ace doesn't improve Sniper Kitty that much unless it improves to 2-pair. Probably not probing a lot of ace-high hands on the turn. Unless it's like ace with a straight draw, maybe like ace 6. Sniper Kitty is getting it done right now. It's like the more you watch Sniper Kitty pick up chips off of each player, it's not like an equal amount that Sniper Kitty's chance of winning the tournament go up. It goes up exponentially because it makes it that much easier for Sniper Kitty to just lean on their opponents in following hands and put pressure on them because they're trying to outlast each other. Small turn bet from Janie. Sniper Kitty pounces on it. Man, there's been a lot of attacking these small bets. I love seeing this. This feels very high level from all the players. Janie has maybe painted themselves in a corner where they've capped themselves a little bit with the size on the turn. Maybe not. Open themselves up to some very dicey situations. Yeah, look at this. Sniper Kitty raised Queen 5 on the turn. That would be a hand that should never really raise turn, but just saw the small bet and decided maybe this is an exploitable size and my queen's just good way too often here. That was really nice by Sniper Kitty. Like, not a huge pop, but just shows off a lot of what Sniper Kitty's capable of. I mean, given the small size, I don't even know if Queen 5 should be raising, but as an exploit, it seems very cool. Big raise pre-flop from Jack Boggle. Half pot flop. Janie raise. Wow, Jack Boggle just lets it go. A lot of interesting raises in position from Janie in spots where you'd expect them to be more call happy, I should say. Sniper Kitty's just plugging away at their opponents. I'm not even sure if in fact Jack Bogle is Brian Altman. I assume it is. I'm not sure how many WPTs he's already won. I want to say it's 3. This might be like a record-tying number of WPT trophies, potentially. I don't know if somebody in the chat has that information. I could pull it up maybe too. I'm just afraid of opening stuff and disrupting anything going on here. After our last severe technical issue. But yeah, if anybody out there wants to check on it, I think Alti has already won 3 World Poker Tours. ISO from Janie. Jack just folds. I have a feeling that Jack expects slightly less aggression than maybe would come from a solver and is responding according to that. I could be wrong, but Google says Alti has 3 World Poker Tours. I wonder, I think 4 ties the record. I'm not sure. I believe the record is Darren Elias. I don't know if he has 4 or 5. Limp Jam from Janie here. Sniper Kitty's really thinking about this. I thought Sniper Kitty would mostly snap the hands that are calling, but certainly some hands that are on the cusp. Absolutely. Yeah, Limit could tie for first. That's sick. Big 3-bet by Jack. Huge sizing. That's like the sort of sizing you'd see in a cash game when you're 100 blinds deep, but they're around 40. And at these final tables with ICM, you could certainly size down a little bit from wherever you normally would make it. Janie P. Each pot is crucial for Janie right now. It keeps them competitive with Jack. Janie finding a C-bet here. Complete brick on the turn. Another small bet. This time Kitty just calls. Feels very much like Kitty has something like a 10. Maybe it has something to go with it. Or something like 8-7, 10-7, 10... 8-9. Folds the third barrel. Certainly a pair with spades made some sense there as well. Obviously didn't have it. 3-bet from Sniper Kitty. We haven't seen as much 3-betting from Sniper Kitty versus Janie so far. Could just be completely random. Could also be Jack's opening a bit more, so Sniper feels like they can 3-bet a bit more. 9 turn. That feels like a very good card for Sniper Kitty. Incredibly difficult for Janie to have a 9. Especially since they don't really have any offsuited 9s, so it's very few combos. A little surprised to see Sniper Kitty check here. I'm not sure what to make of this. It feels like a hand that has some showdown value for sure. Something like Ace Jack, maybe Ace Queen. Even those hands you'd expect to maybe bet for value. Ace Jack, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Unfortunate river, obviously, for Sniper Kitty. I could even see Ace Queen betting that turn small for value, to be honest. Could get dicey on rivers, but ooh, check raise. Janie P. Derek in the chat says Jack would have jammed Ace Jack on that river. I mean, I know you're joking, but like you're not even really joking so much. Certainly, not jammed, but might have find the bet size to make an ace fold potentially. It felt like Janie has a lot of ace high in that node. Maybe they'd bet the turn when check two with a pocket pair. So yeah, I mean, betting ace jack on the river to put pressure, like finding the size that puts a lot of pressure on ace high, makes a ton of sense. It's possible that size is closer to all in than we think, considering how little better Janie probably has. Janie could certainly have like some king queen or something though. Could check back a middling pocket pair. I think Sniper Kitty's happy to just sort of pick away at their opponents in a more small ball sort of scenario. I don't really blame them. Million chip bet on the turn, getting it done. Boy, I'm not gonna lie, that felt a little bit bluffy right there. Maybe like a king jack type of holding that has some semi bluff equity. Wow. As we go into break, Sniper Kitty with 60% of the chips in play, just about. Commanding chip lead. Really nice spot with the other two players almost nearly tied. I will see you guys in a few minutes. Here we go. All right, for those just tuning in, 3 players left. 332,000 SC to first, 198,000 SC to second, and 142-ish thousand to third. So the next pay jump will be about 57,000 SC. And then after that, it's 130,000, 135. A lot to play for. And Sniper Kitty is in a great situation currently. Just hanging out on 60% of the chips in play. Opponents have nearly tied stacks. A little surprised to see a walk there, considering the chip situation. Would imagine that was a pretty dusty hand. But I think even the dustiest hands can maybe find some sort of raise. C-bet on ace-8-7. Sniper Kitty C-bets might be a little more powerful or scary than any other players, considering how many checkbacks on flop we've seen out of Sniper Kitty. Looks a little stronger. Janie with a tiny raise by the way. Like 330 over 120 into a massive pot size. So Sniper Kitty should continue flop with nearly every hand. And now Janie puts in a slightly bigger bet size, but still like half pot. Sniper Kitty not going away. Jam by Janie. This feels strong. Sniper Kitty could have all the flushes here, sets. Sniper Kitty in the tank. What hand does Sniper Kitty have? Something like a big ace with a spade? Very interesting pot there. Janie could have a flush, a straight got there on the river, straight got there on the turn. Teague, I'm not sure if going forward what we will have set up. Certainly for the live stuff, we'll have hole cards up. Online, maybe a mixture of both. Janie C-bet, Jack calls. Bottom card pairs. Jack finds the lead. You don't see a lot of leading when the bottom card in particular pairs, but makes some sense on this board where Janie's going to have a lot less 7x than Jack. Janie didn't have much, just gives up immediately. Even versus the small sizing. Jackie Boggs with the 3-bet. We haven't seen a ton of this versus Sniper Kitty. Not lately, at least. Stacks flattening out a little bit. Sniper Kitty back down to 10 million from the 12 that they were just at. Both players benefiting, sorry, benefiting about $1 million. I mixed benefiting and beneficiary together. And I don't know what I came up with, but it was garbage, whatever the word was. Half pot from Sniper Kitty here. I would imagine this is a somewhat unexpected size in c-bet. It's interesting. Sniper Kitty has c-bet a lot more out of position than in position as the PFR. Really rough turn card for Sniper Kitty once Jack is called flop. Straight draw gets there, flush draw gets there. Jack checks back. This might be capped at something like a 5 or even 2 pair. Sniper Kitty immediately takes advantage and bets big on the river. Jack just folds, so probably something like a 1 pair hand. No heart. I think with a heart, Jack would have given it some consideration. Check, check, turn here. Check, check, river. Sniper Kitty started out with a straight draw, made a pair, and just checked it down. Winner. Sniper Kitty ISO. Really nice board for Sniper Kitty. Janie probably not check calling many threes, maybe something like ace 3, although that could be a good candidate for a check, sorry, a limp raise. Not check call, limp call. Might be a candidate for a limp raise, so maybe very few threes for Janie. Sniper Kitty nearly back up to that 12 million mark we saw at break. Sniper Kitty just relentless pressure so far. Things you love to see out of a chip leader. Janie with the 3-bet though. Sniper Kitty not letting it go right away. Does let it go though. Maybe some kind of offsuited ace. Sniper Kitty was not a believer, but just decided I'll just let it slide regardless. Not trying to play some massive pot with a weak offsuited ace. I don't know, something like that. Another small turn bet by Janie P. I wonder if this is just a 10 a lot. Sniper Kitty folds. Possibly some kind of like king high or one of the worst hands that they called the flop with. Or just a float that decided to give up. Ooh, all right. I was gonna say pretty enticing turn card for Sniper Kitty. Would imagine they just have a lot more Ace Jack than Jack Boggle. Could be wrong. Certainly a turn card that hits Jack Boggle a good bit too, as well. But Sniper Kitty has been somewhat careful on a lot of turns, so I'm wondering if this is stronger than it usually would be. Sniper Kitty, big bet on the river. Oh my goodness. Jackie Boggs calls. 10-5 for Sniper Kitty. King Deuce for Jackie Boggs. River 2 pair. Oh, if you're Sniper Kitty, that is a bit devastating. I don't know if when the river's a deuce, it feels like sort of a mandatory call for Jackie Boggs because you're just too high up in your range now. Whereas King Deuce is sort of, from a range perspective, a much easier fold on the river otherwise because it's your worst king. So that's a really rough river for Sniper Kitty. Truly awful river card. And look at this. Jackie Boggs is a chip leader now. Life comes at you very fast. And he has position on the other big stack. Wow, the tables have certainly turned quite a bit. What a crazy pot. And on top of that, Sniper Kitty was bluffing with a 10, by the way. That's not the hand you would normally expect to bluff. Something like a 9 or a queen, an ace you would want to bluff with. All like weaker hands, not a lot of showdown value out of them. Have a good blocker. 10-5, it blocks some 2 pairs, but I don't know. I don't think that's the one. We have a horse race again, by the way. This has been quite the three-handed match, and I have a feeling it's going to go on for quite a bit longer. We are still very deep stacked. The shortest stack has 45 bigs. Check raise from Jackie Boggle, attacking that small turn size once again. Now starting to pull away into a commanding chip lead. This is some really crazy stuff, I gotta say. Without winning an all-in, Jackie Boggle has managed to chip up a number of times. Small C bet from Janie. Jack just calls. Janie probably expecting Jack to check raise a deuce nearly every time as chip leader, if not every time. And maybe some of the stronger kings as well. So fires another barrel, gets through quite easily. Check from Jackie Boggs. This makes some sense. This is quite a good board for the in position player after calling pre. I mean, I guess they'll have a lot of like one pair hands. They will have some straights and stuff, and then a number of straight draws with overs. Yeah, Jack's just going to continue with the pressure. Jack's slowly working themselves into the spot that Sniper Kitty was previously in. And this is going to be tough for the other players. Shout out to Kevlar in the chat who had Ace Jack versus Ace Jack and won. I salute you. Second barrel from Jack Boggle? Oh yeah. It's a big one. Nearly pot size. I think it is pot size. Wow. All the pressure. Sniper Kitty just employing some raises here, even with the stack issues. Jack will not be dissuaded. Finds a raise on King Jack 7 two-tone. Huh. Interesting board choice to find raises on in position. You don't have some of the best hands here. Might be a little bit weighted towards flush draws, straight draws. Checks back turn. This feels like either some weaker king that was raising to find a cheaper showdown so it could check back turn, or some kind of draw that was just raising and now trying to realize equity. I mean, we're going to find out because against this bet size, if he has any bit of showdown value, he's calling. This feels like king. Oh, ace 5 of clubs. So yeah, a draw that just decided to realize equity on the turn makes a lot of sense too. Checking back turn with the ace high flush draw. You want to keep in the other flush draws. You don't want to bluff your opponent off the other flush draws because you want to cooler them on a club river. Finds that 5 on the river and calls. And Sniper Kitty had a hand that made a lot of sense as a small bet with pocket kings. It's really hard for your opponent to have too many strong hands when you have 2 kings. Big pot there for Sniper Kitty. Getting that pot-sized river bet paid off with the king. That was huge for Sniper Kitty. It stays tied in stack size with Jack Boggle. Nine turns. Sniper Kitty leads out. I would imagine if Jack Boggle is establishing a check back range, it has a lot of 9s in it. It's a bit of a scary turn. Yeah, Jack's going to take advantage of this and raise. I mean, if he did check back something like Jack 10 or Queen 10, I don't really know exactly what it would be, but I think he would just very happily attack when his opponent bets less than, 3/4 pot, we'll say. When you bet the turn, you're kind of saying, like, I don't mind you having a 9, which that's very polarizing, and I think you want to go quite large or quite small to say, you know, I'm just trying to fold out your ace highs. Jack Boggle, man. How many turn raises and river jams have we seen from Jack Boggle today? The answer is a lot. It's a lot. Let's look at stacks here. So we're about 70 deep between Jack Boggle and Sniper Kitty, and then Janie has right around 33 to start this hand. That big blind update brought to you by ClubWPT Gold's tech team, letting us filter back and forth. Toggle back and forth, I think is the word. All right, another raise and call blind versus blind between Jack Boggle and Sniper Kitty. King 8-8 flop. Have to be a bit careful on these sort of boards. In position player has a lot of trips type of hands. King turn, really bad for Sniper Kitty. You would imagine Sniper Kitty is checking a king quite a bit on this board. And Jack Boggle's, of course, always calling a king on the flop. So this really favors Jack Boggle and puts Sniper Kitty in a terrible situation with most of their hands. Ace high versus ace high makes a lot of sense given how much money went in after the turn card came off. Whoa, Jackie Boggle went for the trap. Did not work out for him, but he will take the pot down. Also, given his opponent's hand, just checking to make sure I have the hand right. His opponent actually had 2 pair with a diamond, so bet might have been paid off. But obviously you can't see that coming. Checking kind of implies that your opponent is capable of finding a number of bluffs on that river, which, you know, you're giving your opponent a bunch of credit. Obviously, some tough players this final table worthy of a bunch of credit. But always an interesting choice, especially when you have the image of just being all in on every river. Betting big with a flush feels very enticing when that's true. I believe you're right, Teague. Club WPT, or sorry, WPT Global is international. Club WPT Global Gold is US based. Check raise from Jackie Boggle on Jack 7-3 Rainbow. 6 of hearts turn. Bit of a dicey one. Jack continues, but small. This is interesting. I'm trying to think of what value hands want to do this. I feel like it's something... For value hands, it's like top 2 that blocks a lot of my opponent's continues. Janie finds a shove, by the way. Now Jack's in the tank. Calls. Queen Jack. 5-5 from Janie. Janie is out. Oh my god. Janie just went for it with the gut shot. Jack refused to fold Queen Jack. And oh man, what a misstep for Janie. What a wild pot. I thought for sure it would be Janie Jack Boggle heads up, and instead a new Sniper Kitty has emerged. We've got a heads up match here. We're deep. We are deep. We're 70 blinds deep for this heads up match. Ace 3 versus 10-10. More money could have certainly gone in that pot, potentially. Probably well managed by both players, considering the street. Depending on the street, I should say. We have got a heads-up match. Look at this. We're nearly dead even in stacks. 10 big blinds difference. Ace-Jack 10 flop. Really nice flop for Jack Boggle's range. He's going to have all the king-queens, all the 2 pairs. Sniper Kitty will not. Jack turn, though. That's great for Sniper Kitty. Imagine Jack Boggle checks back a Jack quite a bit. Though Jack Boggle still has more of the best hands. Sniper Kitty bets quickly again. Very quickly. Takes it down and gets the chip lead. Wow. Yeah, that 5-5 jam might have been a little bit out of line. I'm not going to lie. Though, I mean, Jack Boggle's really thinking about it with Queen Jack. Sometimes people think about it, but just were never folding in the first place, so I don't really know. If they ever fold Queen Jack, I think 5-5 becomes a really nice jam. It's just how often they do it. I think maybe if, like, the 6 was not a heart, it looks a little more believable, and maybe Jack finds some hero folds. With the 6 of hearts, Jack can talk himself into his opponent floating with some hearts and finding the turn jam, stuff like that. Certainly a bit of an egregious shove with the pocket 5s, but, you know, sometimes it's the best hand, sometimes he gets there, sometimes he gets a fold. Certainly not the craziest play I've ever seen. Ten big blinds. 12 big blinds separates these two currently. Another nice flop you have to imagine favors Jackie Boggle by quite a bit. Bigger bet by Jack. Quick call by Sniper Kitty. 6 of hearts turn. Check, check. Queen River. Queen River's interesting when it goes check, check, because Jack has a number of hands that may have improved on that. For instance, he could have c-bet queen jack. Maybe not for that sizing. He could have c-bet queens. He could have ace 10. Yeah, finds the raise on the river. This is really spicy. All of the hands I mentioned, possibly in Jack's range. Also 9-10 could have played like this. You would think it would bet the turn a lot, but doesn't really want to bet big and get shoved on. Oh, this is so brutal for Sniper Kitty. And then Jack could certainly have bluffs as well. Like, he could just have some kind of 10 that didn't bet the turn. He could have something like 10-8 that decides to bluff on the river. Wow, big pot for Jack Bogle. Big, big pot. $25% pre-flop raise for Jack Bogle. And most of those hands were played, you know, not short-handed, I would say. So maybe that's a pretty reasonable stat, though, considering that there was a lot of short-handed play. So whoever is eliminated next makes 198,000 SC, and the winner of this tournament will receive 332,000 SC. So we're talking about a 135K-ish heads-up match. Pretty wild stuff. And a WPT trophy. And if our speculation is correct, possibly a fourth and record-tying trophy for Jack Bogle. That would be sick. Sniper Kitty playing 21% PFR, 33%, compared to Jack's 37-25, so a little more snug so far for Sniper Kitty. But keep in mind, Sniper Kitty was one of the short stacks for most of the final table, so they had to play really snug. And we obviously saw Sniper Kitty fully capable of turning on the aggression when needed. I believe this one 3-bet, c-bet around half pot. And now a Queen of Hearts river. That's a very awkward and interesting turn card, especially for the 3-better. Obviously, Sniper Kitty could have some kings here, but Jackie just checks back, though. That opens up some doors for Sniper Kitty. Sniper Kitty bets half pot. Looks kind of value-y, but we'll see. No, 6-7. Jack has the king, queen just checked back and induced from the 6-7. Wow, Jack has a 4-1 chip lead. And the blinds just went up. This is... Ooh. Feels like Jack is closing in. I'm not going to lie. Nice turn check by Jack, just inducing from the 6-7. Really nice stuff. And unfortunately for Sniper Kitty, like, Sniper Kitty had nut low, I think, that they show up with there. So just really unfortunate. Like, you're going to have to bluff that a good bit. Just not a lot you can really do, considering. I think that was probably just a well-played hand by both players, and unfortunately for Sniper Kitty, only one player can win the hand. And it was such a pivotal hand in this heads-up match. There is a very non-zero chance that Jack Bogle just has, like, an ace there. Or some kind of, you know, like, Queen 9 type of hand. Although I will say he checked it back awfully quickly, and I don't know if he would have shown that much weakness if he had those sort of hands. I'm not sure, though. I'm really not sure. We're approaching territory of pretty high speculation by your boy in the booth here. But I do tend to feel like in a really big pot like that, when he checks back quickly, it looks quite strong. I guess strong is relative since he wasn't betting, but you know what I mean? Sniper Kitty C-bet gets called. Bets again, real big. Perhaps planning to go for all of it on the river. I feel like a huge turning point in this tournament was Jack Bogle finding that deuce on the river with King Deuce. That may have easily swayed his hand from a call on river to, or from a fold on river to a call. Just taking his hand from kind of low down in his range to pretty far up there with kings up. Maybe he's playing a call regardless. I don't know. Knowing you're beating some two pairs is a great feeling, though, if you think your opponent's capable of tripling with some weaker two pair, which I would assume that they certainly are. Sniper Kitty 3-bet. Jack's calling. This is already a pretty massive pot compared to effective stacks. Sniper Kitty small C-bet on the ace-high board. Certainly a board that favors the 3-better. King turn. Also kind of a great card for Sniper Kitty. Obviously, that can hit Jack, but he's not going to have a tremendous number of kings by itself. And of the ones that he floats a lot, he would have a backdoor flush draw, so the king of spades not great for him. Second bet gets called, though. Sniper Kitty quick all in on river. Jack calls. Ace-6, ace-10, chop it up. Okay. Really unfortunate river for Sniper Kitty. Man, Sniper Kitty's been done dirty on a couple of these rivers. I'm not going to lie. I think money just goes in on a brick. Jackie Bogle's turn to 3-bet. Similarly, similar small C-bet on the ace-8-9 gets it through. That was a really unfortunate river for Sniper Kitty. My goodness. He had thoughts of doubling up there, and they were just tarnished on that river. Uh, 700 players started this tournament. I should say 700 entries. Some people were in for more than one entry. Shout out to my man Rampage, who turned this 2500 SC tournament into a 55K. It's not easy to do, but when you have all the heart in the world, you can do it. We needle the ones we love. Shout out to all you guys tuning in. This has been a really fun final table. I'm not going to lie. Much more deep stacked than most final tables you will see this summer, that's for sure, if not all. It seems like the structure was unbelievable. Like, look at these blind levels that we've seen. We've had 2040K, then 22,545, 2550, 3060, 3570, 4080. Just really small blind level. And then also the blind levels are long. They're 20-minute blind levels. Sniper Kitty check back on 10-7-5. Deuce turn, quick check from Jack. Just lets it go. Talked a lot about how well Jack has played. I will say Sniper Kitty seemed to have played quite well too. I just think that it's really been wild watching how many rivers Jack's all in on, and just other situations, like how many times they've pounced on small turn bets, things like that. But yeah, I've really enjoyed watching all these players play. Sniper Kitty's really been quite solid. Ooh, all in by Jack. Sniper Kitty's not snapping. That's not a good sign for Sniper Kitty. I think on the stack size they're a little more polar, so probably most of the 3-bet Sniper Kitty makes for value are just snapping it off, and then the other hands are snap folding. Maybe they occasionally have some like ace-10 offsuit or something, ace-9 offsuit they think about for a second. I don't know. Sniper Kitty is starting to get quite short here. 25 big blinds to start the hand. Jackie Boggs with 125. Jeez. I would love to see this final table with cards up one day. I hope that that's a possibility. I'm going to talk to the powers that be, see if it's possible. But man, that would be fun. Just so many interesting rivers and turn decisions. Jackie Boggs, delayed c-bet, gets it through. Sniper Kitty still hanging out on those 25 big blinds. Trying to make progress. It's just difficult, man. Very tough opponent. Plus, when you have the best hand on the river, it keeps getting counterfeit. Three quick checks by Jack. 5-4. Had the trap that time. Sniper Kitty having none of it. Quick check back on river. We've reached limping the button territory here. As stacks get shorter, limping becomes way more valuable, and let's say maybe sometimes even imperative. Sniper Kitty with just a pair of deuces holding up. Thank you, Teague. I really appreciate the kind words. I'm having fun, man. This has been a great final table. Sniper Kitty raises, Jack finds the all-in. The problem with not playing limps, and I'm not saying Sniper Kitty's not playing limps. He could certainly have a limping range here. But the problem with trying to play Razor Full when you get down to like 20 big blinds is that if your opponent just starts shoving a bunch of hands, you have too many raised folds. So you have to protect that by playing a bunch of limps and making shoving a little less exciting because you're risking a higher stack deposit. Oh, we're all in. We're all in. Snipe. Oh no! Five on the turn. This is over. This is over. Out of nowhere, raise 3-bet all in. And Jack Boggle wins the tournament. He just wins the tournament, you guys. Unbelievable. If that is who I think it is, that's number 4. That is a 4-time World Poker Tour champion. What an FT. Wow. All right, I'm signing out. Thank you, everyone who joined me. That was honestly really fun. More fun than I thought I would have without seeing the whole cards. That was a great final table. I'm not sure when the next one will be, but I guess I have confirmation. I can say his name. I think it's Brian Altman. Pretty sure it's Brian Altman. And if it is, 4-time WPT champion, 3 times live, 1 time online. What a hero. That's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I had a great time. Take care, everyone. You know what? Before I go, I'm going to say the payouts one more time. $332,000 for our champion, Brian Altman. $198,000 for the kitty in second place. Really well done by both players. I'm Jesse Silva.